Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for Monday, December 3rd, 2018. A brand new month for us here. Coming into the holidays, got to make sure that we don't skip the practicing in order to do everything else that we have to do around these chaotic months sometimes. So make sure that you stay on it. So today what I wanted to talk about is a place that you can actually practice that you might not have thought about before. And this is especially true nowadays with all the technology that we have. And that place is the car. So if you're like me, you spend a long time in the car every day. I drive all over the area to teach, to play gigs, to do all this kind of stuff. And sometimes my schedule becomes so hectic that I just can't get as much practice time as I would like on the instrument. So I've been brainstorming ways that I can actually practice in places and situations that typically I'm just kind of stuck in, like being in the car. Now, of course, you can listen to music and that's totally beneficial for you, but I'm talking about a more focused form of practicing in places that you might not have thought about before. The car is perfect. Most of the time you're by yourself. You've got a bunch of uninterrupted time where you can really actually deeply think about topics. I've thought about a lot of ideas for this show, a lot of ideas for my career, simply just driving. I mean, it is kind of a place that we can achieve a deep state of thought, especially if you're like somewhere on the highway and you can put yourself on cruise control and assuming that there's not a ton of traffic, you can kind of think about things while you're driving. Now, of course, a little disclaimer, I don't want you doing something totally distracting while you're driving. That is obviously not a good thing, but there are certain things that we can do while we're still paying attention to being a good driver. So one of them is that I'll put on iReal Pro and rehash certain tunes in my mind, do a little bit of singing, do a little bit of visualization or something like that while I'm driving. So I try to memorize 2 tunes a week. That's my typical thing. So I find that in the car is a great place that I can rehash those chord changes, see if I actually remember them. If I don't, I can kind of try to make sense of them with my ear. Obviously, I don't want to be staring at an app while I'm driving. That is not a good thing. But I can put on chord changes and try to orally comprehend them. And I can't tell you how many times that I've been having a lot of trouble memorizing a tune during my actual practice time. And then it suddenly becomes easy when I put it on in the car and the chord changes just repeat themselves over and over and over again. It's kind of actually more difficult not to remember what a tune sounds like if you are repetitively listening to it again and again and again. And if our ears are really connected to our brain, then we're going to orally comprehend that stuff at some point. For some of us, it might take a little bit longer than others, but it's going to happen kind of no matter what. Now, the other thing that I'll do is actually sing the melodies to tunes while the chord progression is going by. Another idea is to actually try to sing the root movement in a tune while the chords are going by. That is actually really, really difficult, and I'm still not very good at it, but I'm getting better every single time that I do it, and you'd be surprised at how much more you hear when you practice things like that, when you do something that's really difficult. I'm not a vocalist, I have a terrible voice, but if I try to control my voice, then I get better at it. However slowly, it doesn't matter. It's going to be wasted time if I'm not doing this anyways. And one of my big goals this past year was to turn what would have been wasted time into actual useful time where I could be growing some of my skills. And when you start to have this kind of attitude, you start to realize exactly how much time in our life can be wasted if we let it get to that point. So anyways, there could be a lot of situations for you, maybe not while you're driving, that you would consider to be wasted time. So if you consciously think about turning that into productive time, it makes a huge difference, right? It really, really does. I remember these stories that a previous teacher told me, that when Jerry Bergonzi and Charlie Bernakis used to go on tour together, they would switch off driving. And while one of them was driving, the other one would be playing soprano saxophone in the passenger seat. And then when they switched, they would switch horns between each other. And that's just like a perfect example of two people that are really, really driven to getting better, that are turning something where, you could just be sleeping or mindlessly staring out the window, and you're turning that into seriously productive time. Now, of course, to the person who's not able to play while they're driving, this can be annoying. But for people like them, probably just listening to the other person beside you in the car playing and practicing, they're going to get something out of that as well. So there's all kinds of opportunities to get stuff done in places and situations where we don't normally get things done. So think about that this week. Is there a situation in your life that you could turn from wasted to productive? Now, of course, we all need mindless time to decompress and catch our breath and reset our brain. So I'm not saying to turn every single minute in your life into productive time, but if you have these constantly reoccurring situations where it's almost too much wasted time, those are the ones to think about making a change. All right, send me a message. Let me know if you do any of this, where you try to get some productive time in a non-traditional environment or situation. Let's start a discussion on this. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great week. Get some productive time in. We'll talk to you on Friday with a regular episode. Have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye.